This is MJ. I'm an author, I'm an artist, I'm an analyzer. Find all my work at mjmunoz.com. Welcome to Henshin Inspection. Visit mjmunoz.com/hi for notes and links, and don't forget to subscribe. Like, share, and comment to help me grow. So this introductory episode of Henshin Inspection is going to be talking about what is a Henshin Hero to me. What are my qualifications for a Henshin Hero? I'll be quick. I'll rattle off the list I have for you, and then maybe I'll give some examples, and then I'll rattle off the list again before I say goodbye. So, to me, a Henshin Hero is heroic, has a Henshin call, or makes a Henshin call, or pose. Their body or clothes changes when they Henshin. They change for plot reasons, and there's two dimensions to that. The outer chain reflects an inner change, which is related to the second half of the plot reasons thing, and then they change to fight or overcome things. So, I don't know. I mean, let's just talk about Kamen Rider. Let's start there. So Takeshi Hongo is kidnapped by Shocker. He's changed. Everything but his brain or his mind is changed by Shocker into a weapon, basically, for them to dominate the world. And his mind escapes being altered by them, and he leaves their not their employ. He breaks out of their captivity, and he runs off on his own, and he fights against the forces of Shocker. First he fights for survival, then he fights because he doesn't want other people to have to suffer the way he has suffered. And, so therefore he's fighting to protect people. He didn't have to do that. He could have just left Shocker alone and went off somewhere else and let somebody, and I mean, ultimately he could have let it not be his problem until the world had been conquered and he, was enslaved by them or killed by them. So, if you examine everything hard enough, or if you examine most things hard enough, you can always come up with different angles. Oh, he wasn't really being self-sacrificing and heroic. He was ultimately doing it so that he could take out the Shocker minions one at a time, as opposed to running away and just avoiding that responsibility. But the fact that he stopped, recognized, even if he recognized what was at risk and ultimately decided that it was in his favor to, like from a utilitarian standpoint, to fight them now, he was still putting his body on the line and his life on the line every time he fought against them. He has a Henshin call. He doesn't start with a Henshin call. His original transformation is him running fast or driving fast on the bike, or different things happened that made the turbine on his belt spin, and then it generated the energy he needed to transform. That got kind of retconned and changed as time went on. Kamen Rider 2, I think, who debuted in episode 14, had a Henshin pose. A little, Hongo also had a little sequence that they cut in, like in Digimon or Sailor Moon or anything else that has transformations, where they don't do live on-screen transformations. Super Sentai commonly, until recently, although I haven't watched Sentai in the last couple of years, so I don't know what they do for their transformation scenes, but it was a big deal when I think Go Busters had them do in-scene transformations. Anyway, but that's, 10, 11 years ago or whatever. Probably closer to 10. Anyway, so next, but he ultimately does have a Henshin call. He says Rider Power at first, and then it's Henshin. It's different stuff. It changes, but the point is, there's a call when he's ready to transform, and then he transforms. His belt appears out of nowhere. He's a cyborg, but there's no little hatch that opens. It just kind of appears on him. It's actually funny. Ichimonji, Rider 2, calls... Did I call him Hayata earlier? Anyway, I don't know. He opens up his shirt or whatever, and he's got an undershirt, and the belt is in there somehow, even though you can't see it otherwise. But anyway, his belt appears there, and then he transforms, and the armor comes onto him. Whereas, like in the manga, it's sort of weird, because sometimes they show him pull the helmet or the mask out of the motorcycle. There's a special compartment in there, and sometimes he doesn't. He just transforms. It's just kind of all over the place. Doesn't matter. So that's his body or clothes changing. And I'm sure there's other Henshin heroes whose bodies change more. Like in Digimon Frontier, which, Digimon's debatable, or Digimon themselves, they physically transform into another form, different creature or whatever. So, that kind of applies in that respect. And the next thing is they change for plot reasons. The plot reasons that they change in Hongo's case, it's because Shocker took him and mutilated and transformed his body did these surgeries on him or whatever against his will. And there's plot reasons right there. But then he continues to fight them, and he continues to transform only when it becomes absolutely necessary for him to. He fights them hand to hand. I don't know if he's supposed to have augmented speed and strength in his human form, or if that exists when he's in, or if because he's now a cyborg that he always has those powers. But at some point things become dire enough that he needs to transform, and he does transform, and then he's able to defeat and overcome his foe. And a lot of the old writers, the Showa era writers, have little to no character arc. They don't really change as people. It's kind of like the biggest change happens to them at the beginning of the series and the end of the series, and in between they're kind of the same character as they go along. That changes depending on what show you're watching, what era it's in. I watched all Kamen Rider X, and X changes throughout. You can see little bits of it. Unfortunately, we only got 12 or so issues with Hongo, and then he goes away, and I never watched enough of the original Kamen Rider to see him come back, to see if he was different, how he was different, whatever. But those changes happen. The changes happened to him at the beginning of the series, and he kind of struggled with that and what it meant to be the man Takeshi Hongo while also being this cyborg shocker and then Kamen Rider. And like I said, it's kind of subtle and quiet versus a show like, I would say, Kamen Rider Ghost has a much bigger arc. There was another one I was thinking of that has a much larger arc in who the character is. Oh, well, actually, a contrast that would be Kamen Rider Forze, where Gintaro hardly changes. I don't think he really has a character arc, but everybody else around him has a character arc, and he's like the catalyst for that. So that's what I mean when I say the outer change reflects an inner change. And whether that's sadness or torment that the person's put under because of what has happened to them, like in X, in Jin Keisuke's case, or sorry, for Jin Keisuke, or for Ichimonji or Hongo, their lives have been forever changed, and the transformation is just like an evidence of that. It's like a byproduct, sort of. But from the show perspective, it's reflecting. I don't know. To me, that makes sense that it reflects the interchange. But I'm kind of going to re-examine these qualifications, these points, as I go through looking at different shows that have Henshin Heroes in them, and shows, manga, whatever, and kind of analyzing it all through this lens. And I have this lens. I developed this by thinking about it. I'm going through point by point and explaining how Hongo Takeshi falls in line with these, or how these fall in line with his story as it was told in the manga and in the show as well. But this is not set in stone. It's how I'm seeing things right now. Anyway, and then finally they changed to overcome things, which is true. So even though, like I said, there's like subtlety to the arc of Takeshi Hongo, he has to fight Shocker to overcome the fact that he's been turned into a cyborg, to overcome the fact that his humanity has been torn away from him, almost torn away from him, and to, the Rider One Ghost movie is amazing, and I'm just having flashbacks to that now, thinking about how he's changed over the decades of being Kamen Rider, and that really gets to me. Anyway, I've watched that thing like 3 or 4 times. I really like that movie. Anyway, so he overcomes Shocker. He overcomes the physical barrier, the physical threat, the physical danger, and he protects people's lives through that. But it's kind of like in saving others, he ends up saving himself to a certain extent. And that feels pretty true to me. I'm not going to be definitive, but that's what I'm feeling right now. That's what's hitting me the most as I'm thinking about how the Henshin Heroes transformation helps them to overcome things. I'm also thinking about Usagi and Sailor Moon. I watched Sailor Moon Crystal. I never read the manga. I think I bought the first issue of the manga, but I felt wrong reading it. I don't know why. It was just an odd experience. Maybe if I went back to it now, I wouldn't mind so much. But I've dabbled in shoujo, but I don't know if. Anyway, I'm getting very off topic, which I want to do. But I love Sailor Moon Crystal. I've seen all the current stuff, and I kind of think anyway, that doesn't matter. Stay on target here. But like Usagi changes throughout, and to me, Usagi's a Henshin hero, even though she's a magical girl. Magical girl to me might be a subsection or a subgenre of Henshin Hero. I've watched not the seasons in their entirety, but Glitter Force 1 and 2, or regular and then Doki Doki with my daughters. And that's like hard hitting, like Super Sentai, Kamen Ridery type storytelling and action and drama with the characters, and there's arcs for them and stuff. Like today, to me, all the Super Sentai I've seen, except maybe Gokaiger. No, Gokaiger has small arcs for the characters. Maybe like Marvelous doesn't get an arc, but everybody else does, or a few of the others do. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But like even watching those, they had strong arcs, and those shows were truncated down from the original Precure run into the Saban dub version of it, but still those had strong character arcs that you like couldn't deny, and they were interesting to watch the characters transform as people throughout the series, even though they were just these young girls. So those are two examples of magical girls having that. I can't off the top of my head call to mind what other genres exist in the Henshin Hero stuff, like Ultraman's kaiju-y stuff, but it's Ultraman's tokusatsu, I guess. So, I mean, it is, like, I don't know how to define it or narrow it down into a subgenre, so I won't really do that. I'll just kind of put it in with Super Sentai, Kamen Rider, and Ultraman all together as a big three of, these Henshin Hero shows. So, I don't really know what else to say. Oh, here's a good example. Lion Maruji, which I had the good fortune to watch a few years back, does have a character who starts off who has, all the characters basically have arcs in that show. It's a really interestingly written show. It's got some cool fights. It's for a older teen audience, at minimum, I would say, based on some of the stuff. And there's no actual nudity, but there's like adult content talked about in there. But the main character, whose name I can't remember. I remember Tiger Joe, I don't remember the other guy. He has an interesting arc, and while there's no form changes or anything other than the main transformation into the Lion Maru or other guy, the way the characters change over the course of the series is interesting, especially because they kind of circle back, and I think in the very final episode, we're with our protagonist, and he's kind of he's circled back to where he started, but he's also changed, and I think that's interesting. At least that's how I'm remembering it. Anyway, it's been a while since I've seen that, so I can't speak definitively on it, but I do think the Henshin Heroes are changed as people through their journey, through their story, and I think that's great. And sometimes it gets them set up in a position like the original Kamen Rider, where it's just like, this is a never-ending battle. I will always continue to struggle against these forces. But that does reflect a change in who they are. And, the transformation into Kamen Rider or whoever, it's a reflection of it's an outer reflection of the interchange that's happened to them, not just the victimization of them being forcibly transformed against their will. Forcibly against their will, of course. That was a little redundant, sorry. But it's how they've coped with that and how they've dealt with that. Because as that Kamen Rider or whoever, they are a hero. They are a symbol of hope and justice and things like that, as opposed to what they could have turned into, which was a villain, or which was what they were originally going to turn into, just this servant of evil. Without a mind, without free will, without the ability to choose what they want for their lives and how they're going to live them. Now it's kind of ironic. They're kind of set in, I am going to continue to fight evil, the most potent evil that is the most dangerous to me wherever I encounter it. So they're like enslaved to that, so to speak. But it's a heroic, it's like a noblish oblige, because they can do it, because they have the capacity to handle that evil. They will wherever they find it, even if it leads to their doom. Which ultimately circles back to them being heroic. And those are my qualifications for a Henshin Hero. Since I went through with Takeshi Hongo and kind of mixed in some other people, I'm not going to draw on more examples and like force it to and point out how they conform to these points. I'm just going to lay out the points real quick, and then I'm going to get out of here. I'll have these also in a post for, I'll have a separate post for each of these over on mgmunoz.com/hi. You'll be able to find them there. So real quick, my qualifications for Henshin Heroes. They are heroic. They have Henshin collar pose. Their clothes or body change when they transform. They change for plot reasons. The outer change reflects an inner change, and they change to fight or overcome things. And that's all I have for now. So it'll be interesting to see, like, there's Poitrine, she's like a comedic Henshin hero. There's like a good deal of like female comedic heroes and from the Fushuji mystery. I can't remember what it's called. Mystery something series, mystery comedy series. That's what it is. That Ishinomori was involved with Toei making that, and it seems like they did like for whatever reason they had women protagonists in these series. And there was like 4 or 5 of them, like an Egyptian like pharaoh type one, and then Poitrine, which is analogous to like a Kamen Rider, but more like Sailor Moon. But I think it came out before Sailor Moon. So anyway, just kind of a weird tangent. It's funny, those are comedic characters, but they still have like, I don't know, they're an interesting mix, and there's something I'm going to touch on during my big Ishinomori, Celebrate Ishinomori, hashtag Celebrate Ishinomori 2021, that'll be coming up, kind of coinciding with the release of all this, early or late January rather of 2021. So look forward to that. I don't really have much else to say, so I'm going to go ahead and let you go, except I'm going to ask that you go to mgmooners.com and check out the stuff, that you circle back through and check out all the introductory stuff for Henshin Inspection, and that you look forward to that you subscribe and everything, so you can be keyed into and tuned into all the Henshin Inspection stuff as I release it, which I hope to do fairly consistently, but with me being busy trying to write and sell my story ideas to get a book deal and things like that, we'll see how that goes. I got to balance. I got to feed my family and everything. But I really want to do this. This is like a passion project, and I really enjoy talking about this stuff. I've been having a blast for over 15 minutes now, just sitting by myself talking about this. So anyway, I'm gonna get out of here. Thank you for your time and attention. Thank you for listening. Take care. Remember, folks, you don't need to shout Henshin to be a hero. And please, if you enjoyed this, help me out.